Who's starting?
Yeah.
Why don't you get us, or you? I don't care.
Whatever.
Definitely Megan.
Please get us started.
Definitely Megan.
You're sitting in the chair.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
So,
I'm in the place of.
You're in the chair.
Okay. Oh yes, very good.
Bluebird of happiness.
Welcome to Revlog. I've graduated to the
Yes,
middle
you
chair.
have.
I'm very excited.
The Megster.
Yes.
We've been waiting for
Megster
this
chair.
moment for
Yeah, we
minutes.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minutes. So many. I know. But I'm excited about this series that we've been in.
Well, and you have played such a pivotal role in that. That's we cleared Pastor Chris out because Megan.
Did you bring a
has-
copy of your book?
Are you signing copies of the quarterly for people?
That would be hilarious.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
You need to stand in the Great Hall after the...
Well, truly though, you have had such an impact on our Bible study. So thank you,
Well,
Megan.
Thank you all. And
Absolutely.
Randy Houston wrote the study guide for
Wonderful.
this week. So the study guide's been really great too, with different church members.
Well, that's
Indeed.
it's
Writing
good.
that.
We have such
Yeah.
depth of field.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do. Yeah. And this is a fun one.
It is.
We're eating breakfast on the beach
Okay.
with Jesus.
I'm sorry. Fish for breakfast. It just
I know. I actually included that in my lesson. I was like,
It's smoked.
why not pancakes?
It's smoked.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Why not
point out
pancakes?
pancakes.
They had those back then. But
Well, they did have bread.
yeah.
So-
I mean, I'll eat whatever Jesus is making, I guess. But, you know.
that's fair. That's
But,
whatever you're
And
serving.
you will like it.
yes, really.
And you will clean your plate.
Exactly.
We don't. Yeah, they don't comment on his cooking. Notice that? Like, and there's no speech during
Said,
breakfast.
Who,
They're all
who's going to tell him? No, nobody says this.
It's a good observation
Yeah.
there, Megan.
Yeah. But we have breakfast, and this is also a humor-filled text. This is a fun one.
Yeah, there's a lot of good parts of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Aaron, what
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
Well, I think jumping to the end of the story when Peter is reinstated, it's striking to me. I think this is one of the reasons that we hold grudges or we hold on to things because we know the pain it's going to take to deal with it, and so because I cannot imagine how painful this was for Peter.
Yeah.
To sit there and have those questions asked of him and just to recognize this is what I did to him. This is, you told me I was going to do it. I told you there's no way that I'm going to deny you. And then I do it 3 times. And to sit there and have him ask me those questions, that had to be so leveling. That complete, there is no pride, there is no hubris, that it is absolutely gutting to watch that scene. And Peter has to sit there and endure it. And more than endure it, I mean, I don't think Jesus had no other agenda than to love him and help him to see that there is a path back to restoration, and it often is painful. But again, just thinking about that, people that I have done wrong or that I feel perceived that have wronged me, sometimes I just don't want to deal with it because it creates that awkward tension that I don't want to have, and so just let's avoid it. And, well, that's healthy.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking about as I was reading this. Jesus actually wanted relationship with them. He didn't just build this relationship to get to the resurrection, to get this work done. This whole scene on the beach is like, no, he still wants, the resurrection's over. The task has been accomplished, and he still wants relationship with them. And he's willing to just eat breakfast yes, it's you kind of feel uncomfortable reading that exchange, but it was done with so much gentleness and tenderness that it's like that was the highest priority in that moment for Jesus.
And Peter doesn't necessarily know Jesus' intention when he's asking these questions. And again, just putting myself in Peter's position, I have this internal narrative of, he hates me and, what have I done? And he's going to make me, go through all these hoops and stuff. And yet it's just, Jesus is going to love him through this. And it's that, do you love me? Yeah. And that again, it's just got to be this, but he had to go through it, and then that last statement is this beautiful full circle moment where he says, "Follow me." I I mean, that's the first thing he says to these guys. And, John's gospel ends very quickly after this scene. And it's, the last command that he gives is follow me. Like, he's been on point. His message has been clear from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what are your thoughts?
It really is a tender time. Before we started rolling here, Aaron, you said, with come have breakfast, we could complete the stained glass panel display of, do you have anything to eat? Come have breakfast. Maybe I've eagerly desired to eat this supper with you.
There you go.
Supper.
The triptych.
The triptych, exactly. A lot of food going on, and I love that. I love that really because it is that's one of the very comforting things that I think comes from the mouth of Jesus. Come have breakfast.
Yeah.
Come have breakfast. We all like to, we have various memories of waking up at, somebody taking care of us, what grandma's house or whatever it was,
Smell that fish.
Yeah. Smoked.
Yeah.
Fish. Grilled. No, it really is so comforting. Jesus here, he is caring for these people who've been working so hard. And he does that. He cares tenderly. And so there's that comfort there. And then throughout the meal, nobody said anything to him. What is there? What do you? There's probably a lot of things tumbling through their heads. What do you say? And especially Peter. And aside from the mechanics, how does the resurrection work? What actually happened in there? All of that I would be curious about that. But relational things, and then I think when it gets to this conversation between Peter and Jesus, I think I'm not sure that it happened in rapid fire like that. It's probably a telescoped conversation, condensed. Maybe they were walking around the lakeshore, strolling after breakfast. I don't know. But the last time that they came anywhere near this kind of conversation or exchange was at Jesus's hastily arranged trial when the rooster crowed and Jesus turned and looked straight at Peter, and then Peter went out and wept. And that's a wordless exchange that is very powerful. And now here Jesus tenderly comes up to this again, and I do believe, it is the restoration of Peter. I do believe that Jesus really desires to know Peter's love for him too. I think Jesus really is saying, I desire your love. I want you to love me. And I want to have this conversation with you because it's important to me that I hear from you. Yeah. And I think it was a very tender conversation between the two of them, and it was full of grief from Peter, certainly, and in fact, it even says he was hurt that the Lord. He wasn't hurt that he didn't take umbrage at that. I don't think that's the kind of hurt. I think this was just painful for Peter, and it brought up a whole lot of things, and he couldn't dredge up enough to tell Jesus, and so I think the emotions that were exchanged between the two of them was an experience that spoke things that words cannot contain. Yeah. And I think as a result of that experience, I think Jesus had this joyful sense that Peter did love him, and Peter had this joyful sense that Jesus loved him. And these two dear friends came away from that conversation with this secure bond of love that changed everything in the whole world.
Yeah.
From that moment.
Well, yeah, Jesus even predicts his death, but from that moment on, that he was committed and didn't waver and was a bulldog for the gospel.
Yeah.
I mean, and just
absolutely,
and that so
yeah, and this whole story is so. I love this appearance because it's so human, and because the disciples seem so. I view them as aimless, sort of, because it's almost like they're standing around, like, I guess we're gonna go fishing, you know.
Yeah.
What else do we do? You know,
exactly.
We're still processing all these things, but we know how to fish. Let's go fishing, right? And then unsuccessfully doing so, right? And then I love Peter jumping out of the boat, you know, and I think it's so funny that he jumps out of the boat, and even the text is like, and then the boat wasn't that far behind. Like,
well,
the other disciples get to the beach, and they're like, really?
He ran to the tomb. He jumped out of the boat. He walked to Jesus on the water. He always wanted
Yeah, there's kind of this...
to be near...
Yeah. And they're kind of bumbling almost in their excitement. And so it's just this beautifully human interaction. And then Jesus gives them this
so is Jesus
purpose.
here.
Right.
You know, Jesus in his full humanity here is dealing with them and making breakfast and, you know, asking Peter if he loves him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a deeply spiritual and
he brought
physical.
up I hadn't thought of, the profession of most of them was to fishers.
Yeah.
And that was their livelihood before Jesus.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it now.
Yeah.
That there is at this when they had abandoned that as their livelihood.
Well, was their heart in that?
Just that they needed Jesus now for everything, even for what they did beforehand, what they did as a matter of course and just every day. Now, you know, once Jesus enters their life, there's nothing that is routine. There is nothing that is that you can do without him infusing it. Sorry, that's just
because this is the first time in an appearance where now the conversation changes to, okay, now you have something to do, disciples, you know, and so he gives them he takes them from this aimless kind of, what do we do now? And gives them this purpose, you know, that we're going to still unpack in the coming weeks. But it's a unique
it's good
conversation on the beach. Yeah. What question?
Yes, I'm just going to say, you know, in my desire to have a relationship with people, is my love for them tempered by my dislike of discomfort? You know, because I don't want confrontation. I don't want to have this awkward moment. Does that override my desire to have reconciliation or to have relationship? Do I avoid those things? I mean, the way I started the conversation is, I think you know the answer to that is yes. That I often defer to the discomfort and go, you know what, I don't want to mess with it, and you know it'll work itself out or it won't. But Jesus shows us that that's just not the way to operate. I mean, we've been called to these people. Feed my sheep, and so it's going to be sometimes gutting and uncomfortable, but his love for Peter would not let that go. Yeah. And so am I? Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. To hold on to that.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, love that will not let me go. I mean, that's what a beautiful song that is, and
written by a man who was blind and left at the altar. So
we now have we're in a fire alarm situation.
That's right.
But I did not know that about the song.
Crazy.
Okay, that is amazing. What is there? What in the world is can stand against the bond, the secure bond of love? That is my question. What can stand against that? Yeah. Love comes from God. We see love here around the lake. What can stand against the secure bond of love? Yeah.
We promise you that we're not in a fire. It's just a routine drill that
we know of.
Yeah, that's right. But
Very
we'll see you. Comments below.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.